Hello everybody on YouTube. I'm sure you've seen my previous video. I used to be a Christian. Part 1. Now I'm making part 2. Well, the reason I didn't call it part 1 in my first video is because I wasn't going to serialize it. Now I am going to serialize this. It's going to be a pretty brief series because I'm still young. But I was talking about how I started with questions. I was talking about how I came to care about science and stuff like that by watching Mr. Rogers, and how I came to care about the how things happen, like the process by which things occur. Because before I saw an assembly line, I didn't think that things came from places. But that also made me ask questions. Okay, what happened between God talking and things happening? Another YouTuber by the name of Rachel Oates made reference to that question, but she didn't make a video all about these questions. It was more about the fact that religious textbooks don't cover this process. But then again, I think she was talking about Ken Ham, and what can you expect from Ken Ham, really? I mean, can you really expect him to, own up to anything, to actually give detailed explanations? I don't think you can. But that's a predictable result from a man such as Ken Ham. I even talked about Noah's Ark and about how the animals might have problems aboard that ark, such as waste disposal. That was the last thing I mentioned about that, I believe. Predator prey, feeding them, keeping them all in cages that could give muscular atrophy. I think I said that wrong, but who the hell cares? It's atrophy and it's not good. Let's see. That was previous. If you want to see the rest, just watch the video yourself. It's a brief summary, the things that were on my mind at the time, things I remembered. Now, I'm going to talk about things that happened a little bit further along. I might reference some things that happened. Anyway, let's get down to it. When I was in middle school, I experienced some extreme frustrations. You know what? It was extreme sexual frustration. And it came out, and I got in trouble quite a bit. And, I gotta tell you, when you're like Christian, you can't just come out and say it. When you're in school, you can't come out and say it because the teachers have a weird focus on you. When I was young, I actually thought people were targeting me. Well, fast forward to now, in the current day, my sister goes to the same middle school, and she's talking to one of the teachers, and a teacher thought I was being targeted too. A teacher who wouldn't have said to me anything to me, but certainly said that to my sister, that he found that he thought the teachers were targeting me himself, from his perspective, from the outside looking in. So I wonder, perhaps I was right the first time. I mean, if it looks like that from more than one person, then how am I supposed to take that? I mean, they aren't me. They're not the ones who feel like they're being targeted, but they certainly feel like I'm being targeted, which is pretty interesting. And that was clear back in middle school, so around 2006, 2007. No, I was in 2007 when I was in 7th grade, and then in 8th grade I was around 2008, I believe. Yeah, I believe that's the case. Well, I graduated in the year 2010, or 2010. Basically, I didn't know how to express myself when I had crushes on girls. You see, I would ask my mom about this. She did the best she can, but Christianity really didn't help me in the ways I needed help. I mean, I would constantly stare at the shapely bodies of the girls, and I would get in trouble for it because it came off as creepy, but I'm sorry, eye strain. If I look away, it would hurt. I mean, it's like trying to pry your I see a hot girl. There's a reason guys like me look at porn. I mean, you see a hot girl, your eyes, you turn your head, and your eyes refuse to turn. Seriously, they will not turn. You have to close them, then you turn your head, then you open them. But you know how annoying that would be to do that all the time? Which, when you're in an Iowa school, there are Iowa girls around you. And Iowa girls look very good in jeans. You have no idea. Your dick will blow up. You may need medical attention. And honestly, there were a few times I was kind of scared that would happen because I was so horny that I could actually feel strain in the tissues. I actually thought that something was going to rupture. That's how horny I was. And if you ever are a young kid who's transferring to an Iowa school, be prepared for pain. It will hurt, especially if you're the kind of that's kind of a pervert. You will be in pain. I promise you. Now, when you're a Christian, you have to deny yourself the satisfaction a lot, which means there's no relief in sight. Now, I didn't think I was going to be talking about it, but I bring up middle school, it brings up a flood of other memories. I had a bad experience. I wasn't even really a nerd. I'd be lucky to be a nerd. I'm one of those guys who's noticeably just lacking. I mean, look at me in a video. You can probably figure it. They don't take anyone who's like super smart to figure it out. Now, while I might admit that some things were lacking, I got to admit I had some things going for me that were not like God related in the least, because honestly, it wasn't God, it was people. The reason I bring that up is because some people like to give God credit, but they give God credit for so much that they don't give themselves credit, and it's kind of sad and frustrating. So frustrating. Anyway, during my time in middle school, some of the popular kids actually didn't hate me. I'm not going to name their names. If they want to announce themselves, then let them announce themselves. These are people who've gone to school with me, and I went to Berg Middle School. So if you know somebody who went to that school, be nice to them because they're awesome. Well, not all of them. Just the ones I knew personally were nicer, except for some of them, but I think that it wasn't really them personally that was out to get me. And even then, it wasn't really them at all. I found that they had other pressures that I am not going to tell you about because personal reasons. I don't think you need to know that. Let them tell you about it. I'm telling you about my issues. I'm just telling you that I knew them. They had their stuff going on. They spoke to me. Let them reveal themselves. Well, there were some serious awkward moments. I tried to learn. I don't know what it is about school. You learn about as much in school as you learn in church. I can tell you that from experience. You would expect to learn more, but you're too busy trying to stay awake the whole time. You know, one time I tried a small experiment with myself in history class because I kept on falling asleep in the class, and I thought, perhaps it is because I didn't get enough sleep. And the experiment had yielded weird results. I went to the class, and this is after I actually slept early rather than stayed awake all night like I typically do. So I actually went to bed at a decent time, like around 9 or something. We did. My family did. My mom liked the idea. So I go to school. I go to history class, you know, after all of the other classes, because you have to do the typical moving from room to room. I go to history class. We talk. We do our thing. My eyes start getting heavy, and I fall asleep again. Then I realize it's not my sleep. It really is the class. Because no matter which way you slice it, that class is so boring, it will put an awake person to sleep. It'll put them down like an elephant with a tranquilizer. Like an elephant tranquilizer. It will put you down. I said that twice to emphasize just how boring that class was. And perhaps stuffy too. But basically, I've been saying that word basically a lot, but it's because it all seems to boil down to something even more basic every time. It's weird when I use the same word over and over. Anyway, back on track. How this ties into Christianity is I wasn't prepared. School didn't prepare me. Church didn't prepare me for sexual attraction. You know who actually did the most at helping me? Girls. When they would talk to me, when I could express that I'm as horny as hell, I don't know, tensions eased. I didn't, at first, when I was horny, but I couldn't express it, or didn't know how to express it. I didn't know what words to say. I didn't know how to say that I liked them. Without seizing up. All my muscles would just, that's my muscles. And my jaw clench, and my feet clench. So every time I tried to walk towards them, my muscles would seize up. There was no way to express. It was all just building up and building up. It was back building. All this tension. All this, mostly sexual tension. There's other tensions on top of that. That did not help. I mean, there's sexual tension, personal tension, or frustration, the fact that I didn't have the appearance I think girls should like. Intellectual tension, where my mind isn't as good as I really need it to be. And of course, what do you call it? I believe it goes back to the personal tension. Where you got tension about your future. Like, you're so worried about your future wife, your future career, and all this stuff. Now, Christianity encourages you not to think about that. I'm too busy thinking about it. But that's because I was told that's important to think about by my family. Especially with the whole future career thing. All the fields I want to get into, unfortunately, require me to be smarter than I am. And it's not that I haven't put in the effort. It's that I put in the effort and yielded no results. Perhaps my method of learning is wrong. Recent years, it's after I graduated that I started to really absorb information. It's weird. I know. I mean, you're supposed to absorb information when you're young. You're supposed to be more receptive to learning, but no. Lately, I've been retaining information more. It's not perfect. My memory is still iffy, but I'm getting better. And I like that a lot. I don't know what happened. Why I had so much difficulties when I was in school. Now, how this ties into the Christianity, I don't know. Maybe it's because I was still more of a personal conflict with the concept of faith, because I never really fully believed it, really. I told myself I did. In fact, I sometimes deliberately told myself I did. Not in the sense of, what some people do, where they tell themselves, but in their head. They don't verbally tell themselves. I was verbally telling myself I did. I totally believe in God. No, really, I do. Believe my own words. Because I'm looking at myself and telling myself, I'm whispering under my breath, I believe in God. No, I do. My faith will not go away. Now, it's way back in elementary. I do things like that. And in middle school, I'm trying to reinforce it. Yeah. Things that added to the tension. Girls in church. Well, not in church, but have you ever been to a Bible study? And, they bring in people that you don't meet at church. Sometimes they bring in some cute girls They're not thinking about how cute the girls might come off to the other guys. Oh my gosh. Some girls who are Christian are sexy. And now, if you were to talk to a Christian girl who is sexy, she'll be like, I'm not trying to be sexy, I'm just being me. That's precisely how you be sexy. Great job at getting me so horny, I thought I was going to die. But seriously, I can't do what some of those girls can do with their voice. But one time they wanted me to come down with all the other church or Bible study members, okay? And I'm like, I don't want to go down, you know, because I'm like younger, I'm in middle school. And this one sister of this girl, she's like, but we want you to. It's like, oh. I mean, she may have been dressed up in a dress, but you could. I was already imagining what was underneath it. Honestly, I'm surprised. I got such a boner from hearing her say it in, let's just say, not childish manner. You could almost imagine her as an adult, but let's just say if she were in porn, the porn industry would probably break down because she would kind of get all the money. She comes off as one of those kind of girls who might actually break a porn industry, all because all the money will go in her direction and no one else's. Then when she leaves, it's done. She came off that sexy. Like she would cause a sort of sex vacuum effect where everybody would want her. Now, I've been bringing up sexuality and being horniness quite a bit, but when you're in middle school and you have a bit of a libido on you, that's pretty much going to take center stage. In fact, you won't care about heaven and stuff all that much. But all this I was talking about leads up to this one question. Is there sex in heaven? Now, recently not very recently, like last year, I was looking on YouTube and there's this old guy who says that there is no sex in heaven. And I'm thinking to myself, then why do you want to go to heaven? Apparently, the reason to go to heaven is golden streets, roads of gold, pearly gates, as if that matters. I thought you were supposed to walk past the gates. Lots and lots of food, a big, big house, mansions, because why have a manageable house that you can clean just barely on your own when you can have a mansion that's impossible to clean? What else is supposed to be in heaven? Gold and diamond studded God's temple. Because who the hell cares about diamonds and gold? And I mean, what can I do with that? I don't get it. Yeah. Then there's what is it? Heaven's always got a blue sky. And apparently heaven's got a bunch of trees. Trees! These are the previous counts. This is where I'm at now. Haven't you ever watched like Pat Robertson whenever they show heaven? On TCT, let's say. They just show trees for heaven. Trees. You're going to heaven for golden roads, a pearly gate, and some trees, and no sex. My mom even told me that if a man gets castrated on earth and he goes to heaven, he'll get his balls back. You know, he'll be fully functional, but he won't be able to have freaking sex. He won't be able to have sex. He won't be able to fuck. There will be no sex in heaven, even though you'll have a penis. Now, I want you to imagine the sexual tension you might go through, because those girls are going to be hot. It happens. I mean, you go to church, there are some hot girls in church. There are some hot girls in Bible study. I didn't realize just how hot some of those girls really are until they started wearing jeans. this one cute girl who is the bigger sister of the seductive girl, who is clearly trying to get me to burst my pants open with her very noticeable tone. Keep in mind, she wasn't even an adult yet. Neither was I. She was able to do that. Imagine what she could do as an adult now. I mean, I'm like in my 20s. She's probably in her 20s too. I mean, just, you know, connect the dots. Her sister, her older sister, which is actually closer to my age, she was close to my age too, by the way. So only slightly older sister. She's a redhead. One of those really hot, sexy redheads. Anyway, I was working at Pizza Ranch at the time, and I saw her in jeans, and I thought I was... Actually, I didn't realize just how horny I could get. That made my day impossible to do. I mean, girls would never understand. Imagine, okay, for the guys for a second here. Imagine you see this girl who is so hot that, let's just say things are very sizable and your jeans are not very free because you're working at Pizza Ranch and, well, you experience shortness of breath, blurry vision, and loss of motor skill. Those are the side effects of how horny you are. Like, your vision's going pale in front of you. Like, the image is starting to fade out. And you're starting to feel lightheaded. That's how horny you are. Like, the blood is not going to your head. At all. You might lose consciousness in the middle of the dishwash room. And then fall on something that you don't want to fall on. Now, as a Christian, you can't act on any of it. And the reason I bring up the whole castration thing is, you ever seen that movie One Night with the King? Where it features Esther and her one night with the king, Xerxes? The Christian movie. If you saw it, then you can probably picture why I might bring this up. Well, this ties into that too. It's a long, long story. Well, basically, I knew these girls. I haven't ran into them again in a while, but I do want to meet them again. And you might say, for the obvious reasons. Well, yeah, for the obvious reasons. They're sexy. Now let's move on to the other obvious reason. They're friends of mine. And they actually like me as a human being. They have no other choice but to like me as a human being because that's all I got going for me. I mean, I don't have the ideal Chris Hemsworth thing going on. You know, like that guy from Because Science does. He looks like Thor, but younger. He looks like young Thor. He looks like Chris Hemsworth, but somehow cooler. I can't quite explain it. He looks like a smart Thor. Like Thor with more of an IQ. That's what he looks like. That guy from Because Science. He's like Thor, but who actually has the same level of knowledge as Loki. So a smart Thor. I don't have those looks. I have the looks of a guy who's an underachiever, who's flabby, and lives with his mom. I keep bringing that up about myself because I find it kind of embarrassing, but, you know, at the same time, I gotta help pay the bills. And that's what's important. I'm also just... I got off track. Okay? I get off topic quite a bit. What else should I talk about? Let's see. Oh yes, that ministry. You know, I met those girls during a Bible study ministry called Without Walls. I believe I should make a video all about that too. Make that number 3 perhaps. Well, I'm taking too much time here. I got nothing more to talk about, so I guess it's time to conclude it here.